Just days before the new year, something alarming happened in the waters surrounding a small island in Asia. China's People's Liberation Army launched live-fire military exercises encircling the island, simulating a full blockade covering the largest combined area in decades. For the first time since 2022, long-range projectiles were fired directly into the Taiwan Strait. The United States immediately urged China to stop, calling the drills a source of unnecessary tension. Japan, the EU, the UK, France, Germany, Australia, and Canada all voiced concern. China's response: "This is an internal affair. Stop interfering." That island is Taiwan, and right now, in 2026, Taiwan Strait tensions remain the #1 external security concern for Beijing, fueled by growing involvement from the United States, Japan, and their allies. So the question the world is asking is simple. Why does China want Taiwan so badly, and what does it mean for the rest of us?
Tensions between China and Taiwan continue to escalate.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has renewed calls for unification with Taiwan in his New Year address.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has reiterated his territorial claims to Taiwan.
By the end of this video, you will have the complete answer. No need to watch anything else. Let's begin with a map, because this story starts with location. On this map, look at China's eastern coastline. Now look east. You will see a chain of islands stretching from Japan in the north, curving down through Taiwan, all the way to the Philippines in the south. This is called the first island chain. Now look carefully at where Taiwan sits, right in the middle of this chain, like a gate. Here is why this matters strategically. If you are China and you look east toward the Pacific Ocean, Taiwan is literally blocking your path. The Chinese Navy, no matter how powerful it becomes, cannot freely enter the Pacific without passing through the waters near Taiwan. On this map, mark these points. Here is US military bases in Japan, just to the north. Here is US presence in the Philippines. And here, Taiwan, sitting exactly in between. As long as Taiwan remains independent and allied with the West, China's navy is effectively contained inside the first island chain. It cannot project power freely into the open Pacific. But if China controls Taiwan, that barrier breaks open. China gains a direct gateway to the Pacific, putting US allies like Japan and the Philippines in a far more vulnerable position. This is not just about one island, it is about who controls the most strategically important stretch of ocean in the world. And then there is the trade dimension. See this narrow strip of water between Taiwan and mainland China, the Taiwan Strait. It is just 180-kilometer wide maritime choke point. Every single year, approximately $3 trillion worth of goods passes through here. Energy shipments, manufactured goods, raw materials, all flowing through this channel. Whoever controls this strait effectively holds a hand on the throat of global trade. This is why Taiwan's geography alone makes it one of the most important pieces of land on the planet. But geography alone doesn't tell the full story. Now let's go back in time, because to understand why China feels Taiwan belongs to it, you have to understand the history. For centuries, Taiwan was home to indigenous peoples living across the island. Then, in the 1600s, two European powers arrived with ambitions of control. Look at the map. The Spanish established their presence in the north. Meanwhile, the Dutch landed in the south, establishing their own colonial administration and trade posts there. Both powers shared the island from opposite ends. But that did not last long. In 1642, the Dutch launched a military campaign against the Spanish settlements in the north. The Spanish, outnumbered and under-resourced, were defeated. The Dutch now controlled the entire island. Taiwan was now a Dutch colony, used primarily as a trading hub between Japan, China, and the rest of Asia. However, Dutch control would not last either. In 1662, a Chinese military commander named Koxinga, loyal to the Ming dynasty, crossed from mainland China and defeated the Dutch. And then in 1683, the Qing dynasty, China's ruling imperial family at the time, defeated Koxinga's successors and brought Taiwan formally under Chinese imperial control. Over the following centuries, large numbers of Chinese people, especially from Fujian province, migrated across the strait and settled in Taiwan. This migration deeply shaped the island's language, culture, and identity. By the 1800s, Taiwan was firmly considered part of Chinese territory. But then came a turning point that changed everything. In 1895, China lost a war against Japan known as the First Sino-Japanese War. As part of the peace treaty, Taiwan was handed over to Japan. For the next 50 years, Taiwan was under Japanese colonial rule. Infrastructure was developed, but the island and its people were governed as a possession, not as equals. Then, in 1945, Japan lost World War II. Taiwan was liberated from Japanese rule and returned to the Republic of China government. Here is where the critical and most important split in this entire story happens. At this exact moment, China was in the middle of a brutal civil war. On one side, communists, led by Mao Zedong. On the other, nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek. By 1949, the communists won. Mao Zedong took control of mainland China and declared the People's Republic of China. Chiang Kai-shek fled, but not alone. He brought approximately 2 million soldiers, officials, and civilians with him across the Taiwan Strait to the island. He transported an entire functioning government. From that one moment, two separate Chinas existed in the world. People's Republic of China controlling the mainland, but Republic of China controlling the island. Both claimed to be the only legitimate government of all of China. During the Cold War, the United States backed Taiwan. The United Nations recognized Taiwan as the real China. But as years passed, frustration grew among member nations. Many countries began questioning, how can a small island of 23 million people claim to represent a nation of hundreds of millions on the mainland? The logic was becoming harder to defend. So in 1971, the UN made its decision, officially recognizing the People's Republic of China instead.
In view of the frenzy and the irrational manners that has been exhibited in this hall, the delegation of the Republic of China has now decided not to take part to any further proceedings of this General Assembly.
Taiwan was removed almost overnight. Just like that, a government that had sat at the UN Security Council lost its formal international standing not through war, not through invasion, but through a vote. Now fast forward to August 2022, and one of the most explosive moments in recent Taiwan history. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives and one of America's most senior political figures, made an official visit to Taiwan. It was the highest level visit by an American official to the island in 25 years. For Taiwan, it was a show of solidarity. For China, it was an act of provocation. Xi Jinping's response was immediate, and it was designed to send a message not just to Taiwan, but to the entire world. China launched the largest military exercises it had ever conducted around Taiwan. China immediately banned several categories of Taiwanese imports, prohibited the export of natural sand to Taiwan, which is a resource the island depends on for its critical construction and semiconductor industries. Beijing formally warned that Pelosi's visit was a direct violation of the One China policy.
行动导致台海局势紧张升级，美国应该也必须为此负全部的责任。你刚才提到的布林肯国务卿的有关言论。
The message to the Taiwanese public was unmistakable. China was demonstrating that it has the military capability to physically cut Taiwan off from the rest of the world. This single visit and China's response to it showed the world exactly what a real crisis in the Taiwan Strait could look like. And that brings us to today. For China, this entire history leads to one conclusion. Taiwan is not a foreign country. It is a Chinese province, separated by civil war, colonialism, and Cold War politics. And reunification is not optional. It is a matter of national identity. In 2005, China passed the Anti-Secession Law, which formally authorizes the use of military force if Taiwan ever moves toward official independence. Taiwan, on the other hand, sees itself completely differently. It has been a functioning democracy for decades. Its people have developed their own distinct identity, and a majority of its citizens have consistently said they do not want to be governed from Beijing. This historical clash has never been resolved, and it is getting more dangerous by the year. Now we come to the third and perhaps most urgent reason China wants Taiwan and why the rest of the world is paying such close attention. Taiwan is home to a company called TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Founded in 1987, TSMC became the world's dominant chip manufacturer by doing one thing and doing it better than anyone else, building semiconductors for other companies. Today, it produces approximately 92% of the world's most advanced microchips. What does that mean in practical terms? The phone in your hand, the laptop you are watching this on, the artificial intelligence systems reshaping the global economy, the radar and targeting systems inside modern military aircraft. All of it runs on chips. The most advanced of those chips are made on this one island. Companies like Apple, Nvidia, Qualcomm, and virtually every major technology firm on Earth rely on Taiwan for their most critical components. There is no immediate replacement. No country can build what Taiwan builds at the scale Taiwan builds it in any short period of time. If Taiwan were seized or severely disrupted, the global technology industry would face a crisis with no modern comparison. Now look at this bigger picture on the map. Here is Japan, America's closest ally in Asia. Here is South Korea, another critical US partner. Here is the Philippines, increasingly aligned with the United States. And here is Taiwan, a democracy sitting at the center of all of it. The United States has long maintained a deliberate policy called strategic ambiguity, which means it never making a clear public promise to defend Taiwan militarily, but never abandoning it either. The cornerstone of this relationship is the Taiwan Relations Act, which commits the United States to providing Taiwan with the weapons and means to defend itself. In 2026, China raised its defense budget by 7%, continuing a consistent military buildup even as its overall economic growth slows.
China will expand its defense budget by 7% this year.
Taiwan, in response, is reviewing a supplemental defense budget worth nearly $12 billion. Chinese military air incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone rose from 380 incidents in 2020 to over 5,700 in 2025. The pressure is not only military. Chinese state-backed operations have been identified deploying AI-powered systems to conduct information warfare, shaping public opinion inside Taiwan and attempting to influence elections.
Taiwan's foreign minister has said Beijing is trying to influence the election.
This is a campaign operating on every level simultaneously: military, economic, technological, and psychological. And the world is watching closely because the outcome does not stay contained to that strait. If China moves on Taiwan, the United States and its allies face the most consequential decision they have faced in generations. Global supply chains collapse. The world's most important shipping lane is disrupted. The balance of power across all of Asia shifts. Let's bring everything together. Taiwan is not simply an island of 23 million people. It is a strategic gateway, the gate that determines whether China can project military power freely into the Pacific Ocean or remain contained behind the island chain. It is a historical wound, 4 centuries of colonization, civil war, and separation that China believes can only be healed through reunification. It is a technological lifeline, the irreplaceable source of the chips that power the modern world's economies, militaries, and futures. China sees Taiwan as unfinished business, territory that history, identity, and national pride demand be returned. Taiwan sees itself as already independent, a democracy with its own people, its own government, and its own right to choose its future. The United States sees it as a test of whether the world's democratic nations can hold a line against the advance of authoritarian power. And the rest of the world watching, waiting, because what happens in that 110-mile stretch of water between China and Taiwan will not stay there. It could reshape the course of human history.